Hey everybody, and welcome back to A Better Computer. My name is Matt, and today we're doing a review of this, the HomePod Mini from Apple. And so this is Apple's latest smart speaker. It is their, not successor really, but an addition to their HomePod line. So they launched the HomePod in February 2018. That was a $349 speaker. It didn't really set the world on fire, but it was a very good sounding speaker. I have two of them. I like them quite a bit, but they weren't for everybody. They were very expensive and they only worked with Apple products. Now, Apple's coming in much lower with the $99 HomePod Mini, and it aims to expand the base of HomePod users significantly. So we're going to split the review into three different sections. The first section is going to be on the design and features of the HomePod Mini. Second section will be on how it compares to other smart speakers in its category. And then I'm going to wrap it up with my buying advice. Should you buy this, or who should buy this if it is worth buying? So let's take a look. Now, when it comes to design, the HomePod Mini I think looks great. You can see it right here. It has that same kind of fabric, kind of lattice patterned, soft touch fabric that the HomePod has, the larger HomePod, and I think it looks really nice. Up top here, you've got the touchpad, which has plus and minus buttons to control the volume, as well as you can hold down and trigger Siri. And so the whole screen will light up and listen to you while I say these things, which doesn't know what to do with, so I'm just going to hold to dismiss Siri. But looks really nice. Around back, you have a braided cable that comes right out the back. So if I turn that around, you can see how it connects there. It is not disconnectable, so it cannot be removed. Teardowns have shown that if you do try to remove it, you're going to break it. So don't try to do that. And this goes all the way down to Apple's new 20-watt charger. So it ships with the charger in the box, which is nice. Not something that all Apple products are doing this year, but it works right out of the box and you must use that charger with it. But it is USB-C, so hopefully other ones down the road will work. I know that initial impressions are that's really the only one that works reliably. So from a size comparison, we're going to stick it over here next to the Google Nest Audio, which is Google's $99 effort at a smart speaker, and you can see the big size difference. Apple definitely went much smaller with theirs. We'll get into more about the implications of that when we get to the sound quality section later. Then there's setup. Setup is super simple, and I forgot to get it on camera, so I unfortunately can't show you exactly how it works, but if you've ever set up AirPods before, you basically know the gist. You're going to hold your iPhone next to the HomePod. It's going to show a thing on your screen. You hit say, yes, I want to set up a HomePod. It's going to ask you some privacy prompts. You're going to say yes to them, no to them, whatever you want, and then you'll proceed. And that's really it. It takes less than a minute, super simple. It works really, really well for setting them up. And yeah, that's really it. Then let's talk about some of the features of the HomePod Mini. And so it's very similar to other smart speakers, but basically what you've got here is the speaker is round, and so that means that it has 360 sound, so it just emits sound in all directions, so it doesn't really matter where in the room you put it, it's going to send sound towards you, and if you move around the room, it'll send it to you there as well. Now, it's not as fancy as the big HomePod, which does like some 3D sound detection to like emit sound into your room and figure out like how things are arranged and where it is positioned, like is it against a wall, is it in the open, what's the deal? It doesn't do any of that, so it's not quite that smart, but honestly, it just seems to work fine, so I think that's not a thing to worry about. It really works great. It really makes it so that you can kind of like put it exactly where you want, and then it's just gonna get the sound to you. With like the Nest Audio right there over my shoulder, that is a directional speaker. It sends audio straight out, which again, isn't a big deal. I said in my review that I think that's fine, but it does mean that you have to make sure that you're orienting it towards where you are, whereas with the HomePod, you don't have to think about it at all, which is kind of nice. I mentioned already that the HomePod has a touchscreen on top, and so it lets you increase the volume, decrease the volume, play pause by tapping in the middle, and then you can hold down to trigger Siri. It works great. It works nice. It's a small touch target, so sometimes you will like pause what you're playing when you mean to turn up the volume. Not a big deal, you just have to be a little careful with that. And oftentimes this is a smart speaker, so you're gonna be telling it what to do anyway, or you're gonna be airplaying from your phone and you're gonna just control the volume from there, play pause from there, whatever. So just inherently to a smaller product, that's gonna be a thing you have to deal with. And then of course, this uses Siri. There are no other voice assistants on it, and it only uses AirPlay as a connection method. So if you are using it on its own, it's going to use Siri. There's obviously no Google Assistant, no Alexa, no Cortana or anything like that. You're going to be using Siri. And again, like I mentioned in the setup process, you have to have an iOS device to set it up. You can use an iPad as well, but you have to be invested in the Apple ecosystem so that you can actually use this product in the first place. But yeah, Siri is all the things that Siri is. I think it hears my voice pretty well. It hears my voice over music, even when it's playing music. I think it does a good job of that. So it does well, and just if you think Siri is great, then you're gonna love it. If you think Siri is not great, then you're not gonna find as much value in it. But yeah, it uses Siri, take that for what it's worth. And then a new feature this year is a feature called Intercom, and this is actually available on all HomePods, but it is a way for you to send messages from your phone or from your other HomePods to HomePods around your house. And so I've got one here in the office, I got my phone here, and so I'll kind of show you an example of how it works. Basically, I can just send a message to the office by saying, "Tell the office breakfast is ready." Breakfast is ready. So not perfect, but the audio does transfer over. Let me try it again. "Tell the office, come downstairs." Come downstairs. So it kind of has a little more audio on the front end than it needs, but it works. You can send a message that way. And so you can also send it to the whole house. I'm not going to do that because my wife is actually downstairs and she's working, so I don't want to disturb her, but you can say just tell the home and it'll send every HomePod in your house a message. Another new feature this year is the ability to hand off from your phone to your HomePod Mini, I should say. And you're going to say, isn't that a feature that the HomePod already had? Sort of. It sort of had this. Basically, you could do that, basically hold your phone to the full-size HomePod and it would transfer the audio. In my experience, it worked maybe a third of the time. Now the HomePod Mini has a U1 chip, which works with a lot of the new iPhones in the past couple years. And so these devices can tell much more easily when they're close together. So I'm going to start playing this on my iPhone, and then I can transfer it just like that. And so now it's going to play on the HomePod. There's a little delay there. Sometimes it's a lot quicker than that. And then once I'm ready to kind of leave the room or whatever, I want to transfer it back to my phone. There we go. And it's back on the iPhone. And so it's paused right now for me, which is great. But yeah, that is how that works. It's much more reliable than the full-size HomePod. Let's talk about sound quality now. I'm not an audio expert, and so take all of these with a grain of salt. This is just how the speaker sounds to my uneducated ears. There's another channel, I'll link to the video in the description, that walks more into the details of how it sounds, but I just wanted to compare it to the HomePod, the Nest Audio, and the Google Home Mini, which are three speakers that I just happen to have accessible here. So compared to the HomePod, the full-size one, the $300 one, obviously it's no question. The HomePod is much better. The HomePod Mini is much, much smaller, and that's to be expected. It's not the same product, but I just wanted to get that comparison out of the way in case you were hoping, just kind of like fingers crossed, maybe they had done some magic and it sounds pretty darn close. No, it's not even close to the original HomePod. Next up is the most one-to-one comparison that I have personally that I can do, and that's with the Nest Audio. So that's Google's $99 audio-focused smart speaker as well. It is much bigger. It's not like huge or anything, but it is a bigger speaker, and it is much better sounding than the HomePod Mini. This was a surprise to me. I really thought that the HomePod Mini would punch above its weight class. I thought it would give the Nest Audio a run for its money, even though it was much smaller, because of the trust and confidence that the full-size HomePod gave me. And really, it's not even close. The HomePod Mini has very little bass. Like, listening to anything with bass is really tinny, and even the highs and the mids don't sound that great to me. They sound fine. They sound like totally decent, totally respectable, and for $100, I think you could do worse, but it's really not blowing me away. I would not say that if you have $99 to spend and you want a smart speaker and you don't really care, Google Assistant or Siri, Apple or Google, whatever, I think the Nest Audio is much better sounding, like significantly better sounding. I wish I could kind of show you the differences here, but basically the Nest Audio sounds much fuller. Highs, lows, mids, to me, they all sound better on the Nest Audio. I did lots of side-by-side comparisons, and it was just a blowout. The Nest Audio, I think, sounds much better. And then there's the Google Home Mini. That's Google's $50 speaker. It's normally on sale for $30, so it's much cheaper, but much closer in size to the HomePod Mini. And so that's probably the closest comparison. The HomePod Mini definitely sounds better than the Google Home Mini, but not by a ton, not by a remarkable amount. So I think that that's really the speaker that this is going up against in terms of sound quality closest. Maybe someone's going to tell me that I'm totally wrong, or they're going to analyze the waveforms and everything and tell me that it's much closer to the Nest Audio. Maybe it's even better than the Nest Audio, but to my ears, it sounds as small as it looks, if that makes sense. So it looks like a really small speaker. It is a tiny speaker, and it sounds like that. Whereas the original HomePod, the 2018 one, is a small speaker for the sound it gives you. You like kind of turn it on and you're like, oh my God, that's making a ton of noise and it sounds really good for the size that it is. This one is like, oh yeah, that's what that's gonna sound like. So that's kind of the comparison I would give there. I'd say it's okay, but it's not a speaker that you should buy if you're looking for room filling sound, if you're looking for something you can connect to your TVs. I do have a second one coming in the mail somewhere. It kind of got lost in the mail, so I'll try that out and see if in stereo it sounds any better. But there's really just not a lot there to work with, so I don't expect it to be mind-blowing. I obviously expect it to be better, but for me, it's not a great sounding speaker. It's totally good enough, and I'll use it for listening to podcasts and books in my office while I'm working, but I'm not going to use it for music as much. I actually was planning to sell the Nest Audio before this, but I may actually keep it around because I can use it to listen to music better in my office than the HomePod Mini. So who should buy the HomePod Mini? That is the big question. It's $99. It's not terribly expensive. I think that puts it into kind of impulse purchase for a lot of people. It puts it into Christmas gift range for some families as well. I think that if you are very into Apple's ecosystem and you want a Siri speaker, you want these around your house, maybe you want like a multi-room audio system for cheap, maybe you want one in your office, you want one in the bedroom, you want one in the living room, you want one in the kitchen, that's $400. Like, that's a lot of money, but that's much cheaper than you're going to get most other multi-room audio situations. And you're getting it from Apple, where the privacy is probably more trustworthy than from Google or Amazon. That's really up to you to decide what you're more comfortable with. I'm more comfortable with Apple having all of my information. Someone's gonna have all your information. So may as well trust the company as much as you can. For me, that's Apple. If you prefer Google, I think that the Nest Audio is the same price, is bigger, comes in more colors though, which is nice. And I think that is a better sounding speaker overall. So I think that if you're in Apple's ecosystem and you want, maybe you have HomePods already and you want to kind of accent to the rest of your house, maybe you have HomePod or two in the living room and then you want one in the kitchen as well, maybe this will work for your kitchen speaker, maybe it'll work for your office speaker, where you don't need the best sound quality, you just want an easy to use speaker. And again, this uses AirPlay too, so it's easy to access. It works with Intercom, works with all the Siri features, all the new iOS features are gonna come to it as well. So there's some value there. I would just say don't buy this if you're looking for the best sounding small speaker, because it's not gonna give you that. It's gonna give you decent sound, but it's not gonna blow your mind. So that is my review of the HomePod Mini. I think it's a decent product, just not mind-blowing. So let me know in the comments what I got wrong. If you have links to deep dives into the audio signature of this, the audio quality of it, I don't even know what to call it. I'd love to see those and kind of update this review, maybe update the description down the road with new information about exactly how it sounds, but wanted to give you my honest experience with the product. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you here next time. Bye-bye.